Well, the past 72 hours have been quite interesting as the stuff we should be focusing on keeps getting overshadowed by the drama in the Conservative Party. And unfortunately, this is what we got to talk about. So, without further ado, let's dive into the news. So, as I mentioned, the past 72 hours have been pretty interesting. And just a quick little recap. Tuesday, we had the budget announcement from the Liberal government, which was quickly overshadowed by the former Conservative Chris D'Entremont crossing the floor to join the Liberals because he did not feel like he aligned with Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives and their plan anymore. Now, after this happened, there was a lot of murmurs going on about potential other Conservative MPs crossing the floor, which quickly got kind of squashed the next day. However, yesterday we had the first vote of non-confidence in regards to the budget with the sub-amendment from the Conservatives, which unfortunately got shut down by all the parties. Bloc, NDP, Greens, and Liberals all voted together to defeat the sub-amendment from the Conservatives. But as that was happening, Matt Jeneroux put out this statement that he was leaving the Conservative Party. Now, kudos to him. He didn't cross the floor, which is something apparently he was already in talks with Carney on Monday, according to the National Post and some of the reporters.
Look, the National Post has some reporting, and we have heard this as well, though CBC has not independently confirmed it. Broadly, we've all confirmed this. Jeneroux was seriously considering switching ranks to the Liberals, and what the Post is reporting, he even met with Prime Minister Mark Carney recently, multiple sources told the National Post.
On Monday.
On Monday?
Yep.
Okay, well, look, there you go.
During question period.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
In the lobby, like with a lead pipe? Like, where did this happen?
In his office.
In his office, okay. Okay, because we had been hearing this, so Mia, you have also obviously heard this. I know Chris D'Entremont met with the Prime Minister on Tuesday, right before he announced his, I'm trying to remember, the days are blurring together, but clearly it was pretty far advanced, his considerations, and this explains the pressure and now the resignation.
Now, if that is true, that he was meeting with Carney on Monday before the budget announcement, and then after Chris D'Entremont did what he did, people started figuring out that he was most likely going to be doing the same and put the pressure on him not to do so. And it is a little bit of like a political suicide if you decide to cross the floor. And I guess after seeing how Chris D'Entremont was getting attacked and berated, he figured, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to put my family through this. And he's now just resigning from the government completely. So kudos to him for actually stepping down. I feel like that's what Chris should have at least done, was step down and then rerun as a Liberal if that's what he wanted to do. Give his constituency a chance to vote on if they want to keep a Conservative in there or become a Liberal and not just take that away from them. But him leaving the party in general also now screws us over in terms of numbers, which is not good. Now, there's been two statements released by Matt, and one is a clarification because after his initial one, which said, "For those who have reached out, I am deeply grateful for your friendship and concern. However, I ask that you please not attempt to contact my family during this time. I ran in the last election hopeful that Canadians would put their faith in a team led by Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives, offering a chance to change Canada's perception in our own country and around the world. I wanted desperately to play a role in that vision. Although the outcome was not what I anticipated, I have great admiration for the many remarkable individuals who were elected to the House of Commons on both sides of the aisle, who continue to dedicate themselves to the betterment of our nation. Their work gives me faith and the momentum towards a stronger and more unified Canada endures. With all this in mind, earlier today I spoke with our opposition whip, a colleague and a friend for whom I have the utmost respect, to inform him that my decision to resign as Member of Parliament. It was not an easy decision, but it is, as I believe, the right one. I hope to have the opportunity to address the House on one final time in the future. For now, my focus must turn entirely to my family and responsibilities that come with that." And a lot of people were speculating that the reason he's putting this out here or doing that is because he was getting a lot of pressure from Pierre, from the other members. And he put out a clarification statement on his Facebook saying, "I want to be clear that there was no coercion involved in my decision to resign. I consider my colleagues in the Conservative Party very close friends, and I will miss them dearly. Since my resignation this evening, I had a great conversation with Pierre Poilievre, who wished me all the best, as I do him. I ran under his leadership in hopes we could form a government that would offer hope to Canadians. I wish him and my colleagues all the best as they continue to raise cost of living issues facing Canadians. To reiterate, this long-standing decision reflects my desire to spend more time with my family. My exact date of departure will be determined at a later date, but likely this spring." And this follows Pierre Poilievre's post that he also put on his Twitter account, which said, "Thank you, Matt Jeneroux, for your decade of service to the people of Edmonton Riverbend. On behalf of our Conservative team, I wish you and your family all the best following your decision to step down as a member of Parliament next spring." Now, I don't know what that means from now until next spring, what Matt is actually going to be doing, if he's still going to be taking place in the House of Commons, taking part of votes and all that, because all of this was happening while the sub-amendment vote was occurring for the budget to come down, which he didn't participate in. Now, there was a lot of speculation yesterday about him crossing the floor, and CTV put out this article saying, by Thursday, so yesterday, two sources tell CTV News the Liberals were still in talks with Jeneroux, but he ultimately decided against crossing as he was concerned about whether he could ultimately trust the Liberals. Jeneroux did not vote on the budget's first confidence vote on Thursday, which the Liberal government survived. And again, as I mentioned, this is because the Bloc, the Green, NDP, and Liberal all voted together to shut down the Conservative sub-amendment. But there is going to be another vote today that the Bloc put forward as non-confidence. So we'll see how the Conservatives vote, if they vote to support the Liberals or if they're going to vote with the Bloc. I guess only time will tell. But when you take a look at the coverage that happened after this breaking news came out, CTV covered this for about 12 to 13 minutes, whereas the CBC took a whole 40 minutes, almost an hour, just talking about this and bashing Pierre Poilievre over and over again. Whereas on CTV, they actually had constructive conversations talking about what happens with floor crossings, what this means in terms of numbers. And this is something that they were talking about here, how there's potential for it to be good and bad. But when you look at the CBC, it was all just bad for the Conservatives, good for the Liberals. But like I said, this is CTV.
Yeah, we're underanalyzing this a little bit. We're underanalyzing this a little bit. Right. Tony Clement he made the point about Belinda Stronach crossing the floor. She didn't give the Liberals the plurality they needed to pass that budget.
That's right.
It was Chuck Cadman, one member of Parliament. So if Matt Jeneroux resigns his seat immediately, right? Elizabeth May has frankly the balance of power in this Parliament, maybe with one other member of Parliament, which is interesting because not only did Chuck Cadman have the balance of power, but I'm wondering now as we go into the weekend and into the break week, that members of Parliament from all the parties might be thinking of a guy named Joe Manchin. who became an independent senator for West Virginia very recently and yielded extraordinary power in the United States to get benefits for West Virginia. And he became extremely popular in his state because he had the balance of power in the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate. So I think a lot of members of Parliament may be wondering what kind of power they may want to have as an influence in a one-seat margin, maybe two-vote margin in this Parliament. This is a very destabilizing event for this Parliament.
Tell you what, anyone looking for a government House leader ought to hire James, because I think he just crystallized the procedural point that I was raising. So thanks, James.
But it's both,
Tony, you want to weigh in too?
Just a quick point. It's both a moment for the Conservative Party in opposition, but also the Liberal Party. The same sort of math applies to the Liberal Party caucus. You have a lot of throw weight there if you want to throw your weight around now.
Yeah, very much so. Things perhaps got even more interesting.
It's happened before.
What could
something tells me we're going to be back.
What you could have is
James, last word to you.
Yeah, to Tony's point, this could destabilize in a lot of different ways, including having members of parliament balkanize and see themselves as a regional bloc within a political party or an ideological bloc within a party. When you get down to this narrow of a margin, it destabilizes in a lot of different ways, not just red team, blue team, orange team. It also becomes very regional and very even generational. So this will have a domino effect as we go into the break week. So.
Now, James is not wrong about the numbers and how this could be good or bad, depending on how you look at it. Elizabeth May is going to have a lot of power depending on how things keep shifting. But they keep talking about how this is not good for Pierre Poilievre's leadership review come January, as the past few weeks since he was on Northern Perspective and he talked about the RCMP and all that stuff, which I agree. The RCMP did a poor job. Justin Trudeau should have been charged or investigated. Something should have happened. But ever since then, and the media's push and smear campaign for like the next 2.5 weeks has not helped Pierre. But it's not just a federal conservative problem, as we're starting to see this with the provincial conservatives as well. John Rustad in BC, he's losing a whole lot of MLAs who are either switching to independent because they don't like the way he leads, or he's firing staffers for the things that they're typing on Twitter. He's looking through people's phone to find out who's a leak, who's not a leak. You have Danielle Smith, who now is getting a lot of backlash for forcing teachers to go back to work. Doug Ford, as always, there's something up with that guy, especially with the Reagan ad that he put out, and negotiation talks apparently being paused because of that. People are upset about that. And so it just seems like the conservatives right now are in a weird funk. But if you listen to the CBC, they make it sound like this is all Pierre Poilievre's fault and that he hasn't been changing or doing anything different, when they say that he should be doing this, he should be acting more nice, he should be gentler, he should be more cooperative. When that's exactly what he's been doing. He has been reaching out. He said multiple times, I've offered to Carney, I'll sit down, I'll do this with him. I'll work over, the next few days with the budget so we can get this at a proper number. And nothing has happened from that. But if you listen to the CBC, like I'm going to show you, they make it sound like he's just got his head in the sand and he's not willing to do anything outside of his norm, as they like to make it sound like.
Mike Moffat, who Mr. Poilievre has attacked as a failed liberal academic, was his word, has a very similar opinion to Scott Aitchison. He's a good faith critic of the policies. And Aitchison has said on the show, this could work, this could move the needle, this is not good enough, this is not ambitious enough. It's a blend of things and it builds a credibility. Yep. If everything is a failure and every problem in society traces back to your policies, it loses a credibility, JD, because these things aren't all caused by the actions of Mark Carney. You know what I mean? Or even Justin Trudeau. And that's what I wonder about the approach. What do they do now? Because when you're losing elections and losing people, can you continue with the purely aggressive napalm and nuke style of politics?
No. And especially since you also have somebody in Washington that is, practicing that kind of politics, that is having such a devastating impact on our economy and polarizing people. So, and we've seen elections in the United States, in New Jersey and in Virginia, and the mayor of New York City, voters there rejected that kind of speech. So I think there needs to be some kind of introspection on the part of Mr. Poilievre to find out what's the right tone for the current moment.
But he's shown no indication he's willing
to do that.
But
but when he first arrived as a leader of the Conservative Party, he gave hope to a lot of young people. The young voters went to him.
Oh, he spoke to their frustration and their anger and their issues. And generational fairness is a massive problem.
It is.
In Western countries right now.
Yeah, and so he had a discourse that was well received by the young voters. Where is that discourse right now? After making the criticism, you need to bring solutions, and that's what's lacking so far. And some of the solutions that the Conservative Party has been proposing have been stolen by the Liberals on several options.
So I find it quite interesting that David Cochrane is critiquing what the leader of the opposition needs to be doing, which is holding the government accountable for their actions. I don't see how Pierre should be at fault for that. If things are going wrong, and it's the Liberals that are doing it, then that's his job to point it out. And when you go to the other guy and he starts talking about Trump immediately, how the styles are similar, and how, oh, you just can't keep coming up with complaints, you have to come up with solutions. One, Pierre's not the government, but two, he does come up with solutions. You even admitted that the Liberals end up taking the ideas from Pierre that he's come up with, at least some of them. We saw that with the carbon tax. We've seen that with a few other things. But when you saw the past decade, how housing's gone up, crime's gone up, groceries have gone up, homelessness, basically living on the street in tents, people using the food banks has gone up. What is the common factor? The Liberal government. So for Pierre to be calling that out seems like a good strategy to me. But now listen to when David Cochrane moves to Robert Fife and what they say here.
Several files.
You know, Bob, it was Chantal Hébert who said this on, the Bridge, the podcast with Peter Mansbridge, our old colleague, about how what Mark Carney presented when he appeared. I just wonder if this is what's playing out here. She said there's an appetite for seriousness in politics. And whether you agree with Mr. Carney or not, like you don't get to be the central banker of two G7 economies and prime minister if you're not a serious guy. And I remember a conversation I had with Tim Hodgson when he was here on the show. He said he was encouraged by just looking at the country all huddling together in the center. And that's how, if you are in the center, it's how you get a guy like Tim Hodgson to go into politics. You know what I mean? And that seems to be where the country is right now, where the government is right now. And I don't know if that's where the Conservatives are moving at this point.
Yeah, you know, look, this is all anecdotal, but when I talk to people, and I think we all have the same sense, is that people say, well, I like this Carney guy because he's serious. He's trying to fix the country, and then you go to the House of Commons and you've got Pierre Poilievre, who's a great performer in the House of Commons, but sometimes that doesn't mean you don't necessarily come across as a serious person because you're attacking the government, and to become a serious person you have to provide really good policies, but at times you have to tell the government, we will support you on these policies because it's in the country's interest. Yep. Then you say, you know what, that guy's serious. And, I will take a real good look at him in the next election campaign because he's put the country before his own partisan interest.
Seriousness, yeah, that's what Mark Carney really has, as he's always talking about sports or using some sort of sports analogy. This is the real serious guy who's working so hard on getting a deal with Donald Trump so that our sectors aren't getting demolished. I mean, the guy keeps talking about all these deals he's getting around the world, but our closest trading partner who's hitting us the hardest, I see him doing diddly squat on. And then him saying, well, Pierre Poilievre, he's got to get serious. You see him in the House of Commons always attacking the government. Again, leader of the opposition. That's what he should be doing. But Pierre has been very vocal about if there's something that the Liberals want to put forward that will benefit Canadians, he has no problem working with them or voting on something. Even this budget, he came out and said multiple times, I will sit down with Carney for the next, whatever it was, 1 or 2 days. We can work late into the night trying to get these numbers down so that it's more affordable for Canadians. He can put partisanship aside. But these guys just have their head in the sand. They have Trump derangement. They have Pierre derangement. It's just, they see red. I don't know. These guys are blind to reality. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below. Like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.